you've got the banks on Wall Street who are acting in ways that are not consistent with what's in the interest of all Americans from coast to coast. They're acting at cross purposes to America. Now, let me point your direction to something on Bloomberg. July 1, Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke and New York Fed Timothy Geithner told senators on April 3rd of 2008 that the tens of billions of dollars in assets the government agreed to purchase in the rescue of Bear Stearns were, quote, investment grade. What we just discovered today, or in the last couple of days, is what these things that they put on the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve were not investment grade. They were not even junk. They were pure trash, pure garbage. They gave the Federal Reserve Bank, which is essentially at this point the People's Bank, pure garbage in exchange for Treasury bills that they used to pay themselves those huge bonuses in 2008 and 2009 and 2010. It's an act of pure, it's illegal. Of course it's illegal. You're not allowed, the Federal Reserve is not allowed to make loans, unsecured loans. And when the banks gave them paper that was worthless, it had no value whatsoever. They just had a notation on a piece of paper saying something like, what do they call it? Here's what they called it. They called it HG-COL Limited. That's all it said on a piece of paper. For that, the Federal Reserve gave them 10, 20, 30
This
billion
is just total bank robbing, and now Bloomberg comes out, and the government admits that all the major big Federal Reserve holding banks, the big six, are knee-deep in hundreds of billions of narcotics money knowingly. Now, that's not news to us, but this is now admitted. And they're also coming out and admitting that it's $600 trillion in derivatives in the Washington Post, and that the financial re-regulation package actually gives the Federal Reserve total control over all the other banks so they can rob real local banks and credit unions. And so they can also take control of any institution that affects the economy. So we're seeing a total banking dictatorship. It's like you robbed everyone and make Madoff look like a saint. We're going to give you godlike... The way to go after these banks is this way. They are basically foreign, private, corporate, international pirates, bigger financially than any one government in the world. They've created tens of trillions, well, really thousands of trillions, in fiat toxic weaponry. And we're worried about 11 Russian spies who tried to infiltrate Harvard and Wall Street, because that's who's hijacked America. You don't infiltrate Congress. You don't infiltrate the State Department, because they're just little political whores that follow orders. You infiltrate the Ivy League crooks. So, yes, those are Russian spies, obviously. But the point is, they didn't infiltrate the government because we don't have a government. And I want this to really boil in. Globalism is the international lawlessness of these globalists legalized by them. And so what they are is foreign espionage, corporate takeover spies, and they should all be arrested for sedition and for espionage, trying to overthrow our countries and hand our money supplies over to their new global government. I mean, it's so elementary, it's so hidden in plain view, that's how you go after them. This is espionage. They have come in and taken over our governments, and they have taken over the Greece government. They've taken over the Spanish government, and they're not going to give us quarter, and they're a bunch of arrogant, Eddie Haskell bastards, and it's either us or them. Now, Max, what about that mindset, really beating the drum that this is a corporate hostile takeover, and it is espionage. It is financial terrorism. As you've said, we're being conquered.
I don't think it's a bad route to take. I would add also the idea of racketeering. That's one thing sorely missing from the prosecution of these guys, because the rating agencies, the investment banks, and the fund managers, and the banks on Wall Street are colluding. They have a racket. And just like Al Capone was taken down, his racket eventually was taken down, this racket has to be taken down. The Goldman Sachs, these folks are engaged in racketeering. There are anti-racketeering laws on the books. It's what, if you recall, Giuliani, when he was still running the courts in New York City, he went after Drexel Burnham using these laws. And you had also the recent, Elliot Spitzer was the sheriff of Wall Street. He was building a case, anti-racketeering case. It's a very powerful way to go after these guys. And unfortunately, there's nobody in politics or in the legal system in the U.S. that is independent enough to simply take the laws that are on the books against racketeering. And clearly it is a case of racketeering. When the Moody's Investment Agency downgrades the debt of Greece the day after there's a huge sell-off in the Greek debt by the hedge funds that Moody's is friendly with, that's a racket. That is not to be condoned in a free market system. So the case should be cut and dry.
Exactly.
Did I go there with that last one? Or am I do there? I go over here, okay. I appreciate you all asking these questions, and they're good questions.
Okay, well, thank you, Senator. I have a question and then a follow-up question. Americans are really astonished at the party of incumbents, as it's now starting to be called, that includes Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. When they see how the banking vermin who are destroying the economy and liberty of this country and the whole world through their brazen greed just have their way with them, with the incumbents. It's now come out in the mainstream press, I got it right here, that the incumbents let the Fed make us taxpayers into junk bond buyers. No, it's even worse than that. The collateral that they conned off on us is worse than junk bonds. It's pure trash, pure useless garbage. Clearly, the banksters lied to the Senate to get tens of billions of dollars in federal money and then celebrated their fraud by giving large bonuses to themselves. They are literally bank robbers. And my question to you is, why are you not calling for their arrest due to the information that came out July 1st? I hope in Bloomberg, hopefully you heard that. And to have them tried and thrown into jail for their fraud.
Well, I will be calling for it. I will be calling for it if we can show and prove criminal action. And I think there are some people who are committing criminal action. No question about it. Look, I'm not happy with this Wall Street reform bill. I think in some respects, it's even worse than the health care bill. And it's a 2,000-page bill, and I'm not kidding you. It's just awful. And it's just another way of controlling all of our lives. You know what's good about it? Nothing. You know what's bad about it? It helps Wall Street in the end, but it hurts all of the city banks, all of the small banks around the country. And you know what they're not doing in that bill? They're not taking care of the original problem. What was the original problem that caused this great financial downfall? Fannie and Freddie. I've raised that on the floor over and over and over. Now, maybe I should explain something to you. So a lot of people don't know this. But I'm not going to discuss it. Go ahead.
Senator, I had the follow-up question. Over here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you get it, sir. We're angry at the bankers. I don't want to hear all this about the government and the difficulty and the workings in there. It's the criminal activity of the bankers that are destroying our economy and the world economy. And what we would, if you would stand up to them, Senator.
I do get it, and I do stand up.
We would, and we could hear you. If we could hear you back here, we'd all be behind you, believe me.
Well, how often do you see me on Utah television?
But not with the rage against the bankers.
Television all the time, but because they are interested in what I have to say. Now, let me just say this. If they commit crimes, they ought to go to jail. We are going after them. I'm a member of the Judiciary Committee. I'm going after them. And to be honest with you, some of them have committed crimes, and they're going to go to jail if I have anything to say about it.
That's what we
Just tell me, that's true. That's true. I appreciate your question. But let me just